The muzzle is off. Let go of the shame, remove all the pain, block it out like a troll on your timeline. The past is what made you who you are today. Embrace it, let it go like an exhale. Remove it, remove it, remove it. The muzzle is off.
Oh, what's going on, everybody? What is going on? Welcome to the Muzzle is Off podcast. I am your host, the Nakia Monet. Y'all thought I put the in front of it, like I am the, like she is me, okay? And I want to welcome everybody. You know, we had a little change of plans tonight. Tonight we were supposed to have Matt on with us tonight, but there was an emergency type situation that came up. So we will have to reschedule Matt for another day. And I didn't just want to let the night go by without actually, coming on live, because there are so many things that we can actually talk about, right? We will have the raw conversation with the man, Matthew. We're just going to reschedule it, not for next week, but the week after, because next week I definitely have a treat for y'all. And I'm not necessarily talking about what's going to happen next week, Wednesday. I'm just going to wait for that flyer to drop so y'all can understand that I mean what I say and I say what I mean. So welcome tonight. And I entitled this one, Girl Talk, Girl Chat, Girl Whatever, because it's just us women. And sometimes I think that I want to preface this with, this is all in preparation for what is to come, right? A lot of the times, especially now, I am realizing that sometimes we don't necessarily allow men to speak, right? We put up posts on Facebook, it'll be like men comment only, and then you got like 100 women commenting and 5 men. And I wanted to open up the platform because most times on this platform, you really do hear from a lot of us women. And there's nothing wrong, because wow, we got a lot to say, right? We like to share in the good commentary. We like to give y'all our good feedback and all the other extra stuff. But I think sometimes we also need to sit back and listen. So on tonight, it's me and my girlfriend, Nikita. Hey, girl.
Hey, y'all.
And I want y'all to welcome Nikita. This is the second time you've been on here, right? This is Nikita's second time. And what I wanted to start with is because I want to say this. A lot of the times when we speak to men, when we hear from men, especially pertaining to relationships, and men begin to give their input, right, on how they feel we should act, how they feel we should be, how they feel, like they give their input, like men give the lady some advice, right? And oftentimes we'll read it, we'll listen to it, but we don't necessarily adhere to it for whatever the reason it is, right? So I said, you know what, since we had a slight cancellation, look at, yes, Wayne, Nikita Wilson, that is her, yes. So since we had a slight cancellation, I was like, you know what? Let's discuss some of the things that we know for a fact that we just might not listen to.
Mm.
And let's discuss some of the things that we don't listen to, because a lot of the times it comes down to how we view ourselves.
Mm.
And let's just be open and honest about the viewership of ourselves, okay? And then we could also tie it into the natural us and then the spiritual being of us, right? Because the bottom line is that, you know, everybody's not in the church.
Right.
So I can't expect everybody to adhere to standards that they're not a part of. I am very open. I'm very honest about that, right?
Right.
So there are certain things that we say we live by that other people just don't live by because that's not their standard, right? So I am very much so aware that we have to bring a balanced type of conversation to everything, right? So I want to talk about this level of balance type conversation in everything, because sometimes what really is causing us issues is what we believe.
Yes.
So I'm gonna end it right. That's my opening statement, y'all. The muzzle is off. Wait,
Yeah.
let me turn it this way so y'all can act like y'all can see it. That this says the muzzle is off. Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I was having this conversation with girlfriends on last night via Zoom. And we were just talking about, you know, like you said, our belief system and even the way that we perceive or understand things, you know, and we were just talking about that. And so a lot of times we want to project how we feel or how we view or how our belief system onto others, you know, in whatever category that may be, not understanding that, like you just said, the belief system, all of our belief systems are different, you know. I was raised a certain way as a child. I'm sure you was raised a certain way. And just because we have similarities doesn't mean that you can really still understand me fully.
Right.
You know?
And I think that sometimes with us, it is the lack of understanding.
Right.
It is the lack of communication. And it's just a breakdown of who people are. I feel that I'm a type person that I try to understand everybody first. Hey, Anchor. I'm a type person that I try and understand everybody first, right? Once I think that I understand you, I begin to assess certain things, right? And like if you're a person that constantly causes like strife and malice and all this other extra stuff, then I know that if you do something, then that's intentional. But if you're the type of person that does not, that you really do try and be kind and be gentle and, you know what I'm saying, and care, and I know you might say or do something that really might potentially hurt me, I'll be able to assess that and be like, okay, but that's not your character, that's not your integrity.
Right.
That's not that. So therefore, I know how to go about that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Understanding from that perspective of you know a person to a degree. See, my thing is though, even though, you know, we know people who could be operating from a place of that's how they act. They intentionally hurt people. What's the surface? You know, what's the root
What's
cause?
the root cause of that?
Because oftentimes we, you know, say, well, this man is negative or this woman is negative or whatever this, you know, issue may be. But oftentimes, even though we probably don't want to really give it that excuse, you know, but oftentimes there's something so much deeper. And getting to that level of understanding, because we can get to the surface level of understanding a person, but really taking the time to seek deeper as why a person how they operate.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that sometimes men and women alike, we don't like to peel back layers.
Yes.
We don't want to deal with the layers within a person. We just want to tell the person, don't take out on me what happened to you in the past. I ain't got no parts of that. I didn't say you did. But I also can't help if what you did resembled something from the past. Right. If it triggered an emotion from the past, if it triggered a memory from the past. And a lot of times it's not a bad thing You know what I'm saying? It's not a bad thing to recognize your triggers. You should recognize them.
Right.
You really, like, I believe that it's important that you recognize your triggers, right?
Right.
And you should know what is triggering you. Every emotion that you have is triggered by something, good, bad, or indifferent. It is triggered by something. And you should know all of your triggers, and you should be able to call them out.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if you trigger me negatively, I need to be able to be like, okay, hold on, wait, pause, wait, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a negative.
Yeah. And you know, one of those beautiful things about being at this place in my life right now is during my whole dating process, because, you know, being single, I date, but I'm able to tell people like, hey, that's a trigger for me. You telling me you gonna call at 7 and you call at 7:30, that's the trigger. It may seem simple to someone else, but to me, you don't know. If my father used to tell me he was gonna be there at 8 and didn't show up until 8:30, you know? And so now you're triggering some rejection in me. And so I love the place that I'm at, to where I'm able to say, hold on, that is a trigger, you know? So, yeah.
Let me ask you this. How do you process through a trigger?
Depending on how many times I've had to say, don't press my trigger. Now, if it's just, you know, like once or twice or whatnot, I'm able to, you know, calm myself down and say, you know what, okay, that's a trigger. That person don't know. It's your duty to let this person know that it's a trigger. I don't automatically just jump off the edge or go into depression or go into anger or, you know, all those things. Honey. You know what? Let me backtrack, and I'm not going to try to sound all professional and sophisticated when I say this. The place that I'm at right now, it really depends on where you are in life.
Mm-hmm.
Because 6 months ago, there could have been a trigger, and I could have handled it completely different than where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
I may be ready to pop completely off, even on the first time of me being triggered. I'm not going to lie. Now, 6 months ago, I would go through the process. Okay, well, let me talk to him and let me tell him this is a trigger and, you know, this, that, and the third. But right now, I'm so fed up to where my process will be completely different, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but if you want to come from a professional standpoint, which I know that that's not what we're here for, you know, I would tell the person to go through all these different processes. We'll explain it to them, this, that, and the third. Meditate, and or you know, do you know all the take a deep breath or take a walk around the corner and you know all that stuff. But sometimes it's just, honey, you just
it
pops.
Mm-hmm. And so this is what I do know. No, not what I know. This is what I have experienced. Based on the men that I have encountered, they do not like to discuss emotional triggers.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they were the ones that caused it.
Yes.
I'm only talking about the ones I've encountered. I'm not talking, I will not speak for the whole male, you know, species, anything like that. I'm just talking about the one. Hey, Maisha. Maisha said, hey, ladies.
Hello.
I'm only referring to that. And what I will say is that sometimes it is very hard because when you feel that emotional trigger and you can't talk about it, I'm a talker. I like to communicate. So for me, I have to be able to communicate, yo, that really just triggered something in me, and explain to you that this was a trigger. It wasn't directly your fault, right? Because it's a trigger. When I understand who the person is, I'm the type person that I'm like, okay, I know that wasn't really your intention. That's not the intent of your heart. However, this is where it resonated with me because this is what happened. And now I'm like over here hyperventilating, about to go into a straight anxiety attack because I just was triggered off of something that was an emotional connection to somewhere in the past. I think that a lot of people have to understand that triggers are definitely something that is connected to something that happened. And And a lot of the times when you have been through traumatic experiences, which is everybody, I want people to stop treating trauma as if it's such a foreign concept, like nobody's gone through trauma. Every single last one of us has gone through some form of trauma.
Yes. Absolutely. And especially being that we all are so different and we digest things different ways in life. And what trauma was traumatic to you probably wasn't traumatic to me. And even within your same household, this is so imperative for people to understand that even within your same household, you can look at growing up with 6 or 7 siblings, and what was traumatic for you wasn't traumatic for them, but you were raised in the same
In the
house.
same house.
Yeah, and it's like, well, that didn't, hit me the way that it hit you.
Wayne said, I don't want no smoke. Let me know what it is. I know that. Listen.
And it just
Hold up. You know what? Wayne, you want to come on? Let me know in these comments if you want to come on, Wayne. Go ahead, girl.
Right. And just going back to what you said, we've all experienced trauma, and not trying to act as if it's foreign or as alien to, oh, that's, just because you didn't experience it the way that I experienced it doesn't mean that it wasn't traumatic for me. And going back to what you said about men not being able to, handle talking about the triggers, and it not being their fault. And it's so important for us to understand it's not their fault. But once we tell them it's a trigger, then they become responsible for not triggering us again.
Period.
And that's not only with men, that's with anyone. Those boundaries, hey, that's a trigger for me. That doesn't set right with me. But going back to what you said earlier too, is even knowing what your trigger are you emotionally sound enough to know that this triggers you? And have you even some people just think that emotions are I'm happy and I'm sad and I'm crying. There are so many different levels to emotions. So
It is.
yeah, just really understanding what makes you and how does it make you feel, because you can know that it's your trigger, but how is it making you feel when you feel triggered? Do you feel suicidal? Do you feel like it's going to take you into depression? Do you feel as if you're angry? How does it really make you feel? Because we can be triggered, but how are you being triggered?
How? And I think that's important for people to know the how. Wayne, yeah. I sent you the link, so look for the link. No, I think because you know what? I think this is, y'all know I just do stuff off the fly, but I think that if we're going to talk about it, you definitely need a man's. You need a male input. I believe in that. I believe in balanced conversations. I love balanced conversations. Yeah. I think balance is important in life. Half y'all missing out because you don't have balanced conversations, and it's always one-sided.
Yes, I agree with that. I was thinking about that I mean, we don't have to discuss the topic, but the topic, I really wanted that middleman. I was like, dang, I need me a man that'll come in and say he been in that, but yeah, I agree with you.
Well, some of them don't like to admit the fact that they be in it. Hey, Wayne.
Exactly. Hi, Wayne.
All right. I'm here. All right.
You can hear us?
Yeah, I think so.
Right. I'm making sure.
I'm good.
So, Wayne, what do you think about triggers in women?
I'm into my background in education. I deal with culture and climate. Climate. So it has everything to do with trauma and social emotional learning. And so I really trauma is it comes at every angle. You never know what it is. So my thing is we need to have the conversation. We need to have the conversation. Let me know what's going on with you. Let me know what's happening. And then it's up to me. Can I do my due diligence to make sure I don't interrupt or cause the emotional trigger? Because sometimes what I may have a deficiency with my level of maybe maturity or my level of just having issues. Like you made an example about being late. Like I'm late. I'm going to be the guy that you say 7 o'clock. I'm going to try. I really am, but I'm always late. So I kind of do my scheduling different just so I could trick my mind because I know I'm going to be late, but it's a struggle that I have. And I don't mean to trigger you. And so if I continue to do that, that means I really have to have this conversation with myself and say, look, well, maybe this unfortunately may not be able to happen. And there's no love lost. It's just the fact that I can't meet you where you are, but I understand, and I can't meet you where you are because I have an issue with what I'm dealing with, So, and this is honest conversations. But I do believe if you don't have those conversations, you're gonna be lost in the dark. And because there's been plenty of times you you getting cussed out and yelled at. I'm like, yo, but I just bought you flowers. I don't understand. I said poetry and everything. I don't get it. What happened tonight? Why are you mad? Not knowing that perhaps what I just did really triggered something in your own emotions about what's going on in your past. So, it's like, and trauma is real. And I'm not here to, you don't have to qualify yourself to me about how you feel. It is what it is. I can't say that you're wrong for having whatever things you deal with, because this is what you deal with. And either I could rock with you, or I could say, listen, we gonna be cool, and this level of a relationship is just not gonna be able to work for us.
As a man, do you have triggers?
Oh yeah, I have triggers. I have triggers. Yeah.
If let's hypothetically say you're in a relationship and the woman she triggers you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you feel okay enough or comfortable enough to speak on the trigger, or would you hold it in?
I would probably regroup, because my defense mechanism normally is I don't like arguing with women or being mad with women. I don't like going back and forth with a woman. That's not how I've been. So if something makes me mad, I'm gonna look like, word, that's what it is. And I'm gonna step back for a while, but I know I'm gonna come back to the table just with a little more the temperament being mellow, and to make sure my tone is right to actually have that conversation. Because if I'm talking in the middle of me being upset or angry, it's a problem. And I just been raised, I don't argue with women. I just don't.
All right, so I want everybody to y'all can see the screen what Jamel wrote.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You already read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me respond to Jamel. I don't think that it's necessarily putting the responsibility on the person that you're dating, courting, whatever you want to call it. It's not putting a responsibility on them, but if we are trying to get to know one another and things like that, I will hold you to a level of expectation to understand certain things are going to bother me. And I believe that that's what's wrong with, people now, is that we don't want to take the responsibility of saying, okay, if I'm courting or if we're dating, no, it may not be just bluntly my responsibility to make sure that I don't always trigger you, but let me respect you enough to understand that this is a trigger and I do it, and maybe that's just me and how I operate. But if someone came to me and told me that I was really interested in and trying to get to know, I'm not just going to throw in the towel and say, you know what, well, that's your trigger, that's your issue that you're dealing with in your trauma. So you know what, let me step back, because even as you just said, because I'm dealing with my own, issues or whatnot. I think that, just being able to step up to the plate a little bit and say, I'm not going to be able to fulfill your expectations fully, but I will try to work with you,
Yeah. So I think, and this is why I said, let me bring up male energy, right? Mm-hmm. Because you need masculine energy within feminine energy in order to have a balanced conversation, right? Me and you are feminine, so we got our good feminine energy. Wayne is masculine. I'm trying to get another man to come up here as well, because I think that what happens is that sometimes we communicate differently. Mm-hmm. And what Jamel heard isn't what we're actually saying, right? Right. But it's what he heard, right? So now when you think about it, and it's like, this happens often, right? Because at the end of the day, we communicate differently. We're not saying that we're putting the onus or the responsibility of the man to manage trauma, to manage a person's trigger. No one knows when the trigger is going to happen. Right. No, you don't know. You don't wake up and be like, I know you're going to trigger me today. You know what? I'm gonna prepare because you gonna trigger me today, and you gonna cause me to go way back to like 2005, Nakia, and I'm trying to be 2021, Nakia. So now no, you don't wake up like that. But what happens when something does occur and you are triggered? Why can't you communicate the trigger? It's not the responsibility of whomever, because just like that's why I read Jamel's statement, and that's why I asked Wayne, but I asked him, do you have triggers? Right? Because it's not just us that gets triggered. Men get triggered too. We piss them off.
Right.
We make them upset. We make them angry. We make them, you know what I should have did was I never should have started talking to you in the first place, because now you anytime a man tell you acting like so-and-so, and that's why I ain't with her, they might not say it in those words, but that's what they mean. And that's why I ain't with her. That's an emotional trigger. Why? Because it brought them back to a place where they were not being satisfied emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, and it bring you back to that place. Trigger is not a bad thing. Everybody has them. And if I'm with a man, it's my job that if he brings to my attention that I just triggered him by doing something, it's my job. Number one, apologize. That wasn't my intent, right? Number two, to be cognizant of my own behavior. And that's what I'm like. Triggers happen because something occurred. There was a behavior. There was a word spoken, whatever. Listen, I had my head put through a good car window, right? If a man base up on me a little too and you get a little too close, that's an automatic trigger.
Yeah.
Automatic. That is a trigger. And I don't know how I'll react with that trigger today. I ain't had nobody do that to me since that time.
And while I am in agreement with having those conversations, but I'll also say for men and women that if you know that there is some trauma, there's something emotional that's bothering you, you still need to continue to get the help that you need, because you don't want to live your life, whether it's in fear, whether it's just being emotional wreck for that particular reason. But and so that's where I want to be there to work with my significant other. You understand me? Let's work this together. Get the help that we need.
And I like how you just said that. I want to work. Let's work together to ensure, you understand, because it's not putting the onus on one person to say, that's why you need to heal. You got to heal. First of all, everybody heals in stages. You ain't just going to sit up here and one day just be magically okay. Okay. I ain't got Lucky Charms. Okay. Ain't no damn rainbow that I'm sliding down. And next thing you know, I'm just going to be happy tasting Skittles. Okay. It's a process, right? And everybody has to be able to go through their process. And a lot of times it's like, I'm just telling you that just pissed me off. And you act like, well, I want to hear that. Oh, okay. And at that point, relationship is over. Why? Because when you shut down a person's ability to be able to communicate to you why they feel a certain type of way, there's no more relationship. And that happens in friendships, romantic, all that stuff. Some of y'all with them little friends with benefits, it happens with them too. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because the benefit is no longer beneficial to you because you don't want to hear about half the stuff that they got going on. Some of y'all, listen, I'm just saying, that's how some of these side pieces done got dumped because of that. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't want that level of a connection. No, I got to go. No, bye.
There.
I got to find somebody else that ain't gonna try and bring me into their world. I don't want to be in your world. This purpose is for this right here. You over here trying to take me over here. I want to go over there. I want to be right here.
And when I also learn, if I can't really talk to you about, I'm sorry.
Jamel, how are you going to say most women don't manage their trauma?
Right. I was going to address that.
So okay. Before y'all go there, I'll make my point. I think I still remember it. If I do have issues, if I can't communicate with you, because a lot of times if I can't communicate with you, it's really because there's a certain level of trust that I don't have for you yet. And if I don't have that yet, then it might be best again for me to just slide off for a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. Y'all can push back, but I find myself that a lot of times while we hold stuff in is because I don't trust you with my information because I'm vulnerable. What I've been through, it hurts, and I'm dealing with you, but we haven't had that much time in where I could say I totally trust you with my inner secret. Because if I tell you my inner secret, it's gonna ruin the image of what I may perceive that I am, or what others may perceive that I am.
You
And
better
so
say, I like
therefore,
that, Wayne.
I'm the strength that I carry. I'm actually telling you a weakness. You might use that against me, you know. And if I can't trust you with it, then maybe I need to slide off. And I found myself many times going
Sliding
through
off.
some real serious issues, like on the inside and things I need, and not really having people to talk to. And here I might be dealing with somebody. I'm like, yo, I'm really not trying to be a jerk. I'm really not trying to be a pain. I'm really not trying to be a bother. But I know in the back of my mind, I'm going through something, and I just can't tell you. And if I can't tell you, then I need to slide off.
Right.
That's what it is, Wayne.
Yeah. I'm gonna speak for me. I ain't speaking for everybody else.
I'm just saying that just sounds real good.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm speaking for what I do, what I struggle with, and the things I go through. And it took a lot to actually look in the mirror and say, yo, you know. So sometimes it's best if you do have triggers, and you know you're not emotional with certain triggers. You don't need to be dealing with nobody. You just need to go ahead and get what you need for the healing in those areas before you move on.
But see, sometimes you are at a level of healed, you know, and you're not just popping off. But like I was saying earlier when we first started, is that sometimes what we have to understand, I don't know if anybody else can attest to this, but you go through peaks and valleys in life, and sometimes you at a place to where you are really feeling healed and whole, and you got that self-love, and you got it all, you know, stuff is booming. Then you go through something in your life to where it starts to bring little things back up, and it's not like you're going to go off or, you know, pop off or whatever you want to say when you have a trigger, because you are at a certain level of being healed, but you still, you know, it's still that something that rubs you the wrong way. Like, you know, I'm healed.
Let me ask you this, right? If you're going through the peaks and valleys with the same issue, peaks and valleys, are you totally
clarify what I was saying? No, I'm not saying with the issue. I'm just talking in general. Maybe say, for instance,
all right,
with this coronavirus stuff, you know, people lost jobs and, you know, losing homes and all kinds of stuff. And so you at a level of depression or whatever you're going through at that moment. And yes, there's just some things where it's like, please don't talk to me like that right now. Or please don't do this right now. And yes, I've been healed from, you know, or almost healed, I guess you can say, of this issue, but I'm in such a dark time in my life right now that certain triggers are starting to kind of peek their little head up, and I might not respond how I used to respond, but I'm still feeling rubbed the wrong way. Does that make sense?
I got it. I think I was taking it as the same trauma that's been bothering you, and you keep going through that roller coaster with that particular. You're talking about just life in general. I got it.
General, and sometimes you're going through certain levels of life that, you know, you may not, like I said, you may not address it the same way, and it may not even happen often, but I'm in such a dark place right now. I'm trying to figure out these bills, this, that, and the third, and COVID, and you did something, and it reminded me of that old me, and it triggered something about that old. And I'm not going to respond the same way, but please understand, don't do that, because I'm at the level that I'm at right now in life. You get what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
You start digging
up
stuff. Let's not act like we can't dig up graves.
We can.
You know? So.
Gotcha.
No, but that's real. And that's life, right? Because we go through a lot of different changes in life, period.
Yeah.
So this middle age thing, man, no, let me tell you, I'll be up in this joint like, woo! Good, what's going on, God? Come on, what's happening here? Listen, don't eat this, can't do that, drink this. I'm like, man, look here, man. I wish I would have known. But this middle age, and I always say, like, with Stack, you young, I'm young, but things is happening, and it's bugging out right now, you know. And I found myself as a man, like certain times with some of the fellas, like even in that, some of the fellas I can't talk to everybody the same, but those gentlemen that, like a couple of my frat brothers stuff that we about the same age, we stop like, dog, has this ever happened to you? They're like, yeah, man, you gotta do X, Y, and Z. And you just sit there and you laugh, like, whoo, you go through I think at this time, speaking that whole, you said the peak and valley, right, Nikita, that peak and valley, that peaks and valley. This is the moment in at this stage where it's some days like you question for all the accolades, all the stuff you accomplished, you start questioning like, yo, your manhood, like, dog, man, what's happening? Like, nah, I do this or that. Because especially when you're going through that valley, like you have much, and then you lose everything. You like, and unfortunately, a lot of your definition of what a man is does have to do with what you have accomplished and what you has acquired. The truth be told, like that's just the way it is. So when I try to go out in the business, I lost 30 stacks, and then I lost my house, and then I was like, dog, like I had to really sit back. Like, now I'm not at zero. I'm gainfully employed, but I don't have like what I had. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing that bothers. That's the thing that bothers sometimes. Brother Lewis, what's going on, brother?
What's going on? What's going on?
All right, all right.
Hey, thank you for bringing me on, Kia. I know you brought me on because you was gonna roast me for my comment. But
I figured you would be better off verbally explaining it than typing it all up in there. So I said, let me send Jamel this good link here before he make me say some stuff and he can't respond fast enough with typing. So let Jamel verbalize what he tried to say. Go ahead, Jamel, because go ahead. Clean this up.
Okay. Well, we live in a society where I think most of us understand that the money to be made is not in the cure. It's in the illness, in the problem, in the trauma. We are not taught, women, men as well, are not taught how to deal with their traumas. In society, especially within the Black community, we have been exposed to certain parts of psychology that will tell you to express, to expose the trauma. Express your traumas. Express to people what you're feeling and how you're feeling. But because we don't really take that to the next level, just because we express it, we never go into managing it. Just because I express to you that this bothers me, we don't take it to the next level and say, okay, now that I've expressed to you that this bothers me, let me find a way, let me find a mechanism that will help me not be bothered. We always put the onus on someone who has not had the experience. That when you have an experience, your life is forever changed by the experience that you have. But when you try to put a certain level of responsibility on another to kind of help you manage what you've experienced that they have not, it puts us in a situation where you are always expressing what the trauma is, but you cannot manage or help manage that because you don't have the experience. It's like telling someone, hey, something's wrong with my car, and you're the mechanic. You're the mechanic. You have the experience to deal with the car. You know how the car runs, you being the car. You know how you run. You know how you operate. When you know you've been triggered, then you have to find mechanisms that help you deal with and unravel the mystery of your own trigger.
I agree with that.
And the problem is we don't do that. We put that on the person who has triggered us and say, no, you can't do that. No, you can't say that. No, but they haven't had your experience. And because they haven't had your experience, they're not as sensitive. They're not as knowledgeable on what to do in the situation, or even to remember the situation, because they have not had that experience, that life-altering experience that makes them say, oh, okay, I have to be a little more responsible. Even though I do agree there should be some level of responsibility, because if you're just always triggering me, then that means that you're doing that purposely.
Right, because and let me say this, I know you want to say something real quick, Nakia, but let me say this, because if we look at the list of what traumatic triggers are, they're unhealthy. I mean, we're not talking about walks in the park and I fell and I bumped my head type of stuff, you know. Oh, I'm scared to go down a slide because I skinned my knee. Oftentimes, traumatic triggers are from hostile, abusive situations. And so if you are triggering me in this way, that lets me know that you're doing something, first of all, that's disrespectful anyway. Because even going back to what Wayne said, he said that he's always late. Being always late is not good. And so we can look at it as if, you know what? I'm not sensitive to what you have been through because I don't operate like this. But at the end of the day, your triggers, if you're triggering me, it's clearly because you're operating in an unhealthy or toxic manner. If that makes sense.
It makes sense on one side of the spectrum, okay. Because what may be unhealthy for you may not be unhealthy for another. What we have to realize, people have different perspectives. They have different experiences. There are some people.
And I wasn't. I was.
I'm good. I got thick skin. I'm good.
Yeah. So you know, I think we have to be mindful that everybody's point of trauma or hurt is not everybody. Is not a blanket experience.
Okay, hold up. Y'all give me one quick second. Y'all keep talking. I'm sorry.
Let me say real quick, okay? Because you referenced to mechanical issues. And I mean, for me, anything that has anything to do with mechanical issues, whether it be just as simple as an oil change, because we can look at an oil change as simplicity. You know, oh, you can wait a couple of months for that. You know, yes, you need to get it done, but you can wait a couple of months. But if there's a bolt missing, you need to put that bolt back on, or, you know, certain wiring malfunctions and things of that nature. And so I feel like, okay, yes, we can say, I don't understand where you're coming from because I don't look at, you know, trauma, whatever you're talking about, the same way that you look at it. I'm trying to explain it to make it make sense. But even if it's as simple as an oil change, there's still a problem.
There's no doubt about that. But I'm sorry, go on, sir.
So the sister LaVon Smith, one of the folks watching, she says, I am all for addressing triggers, but I know for me, I don't want to be walking on eggshells for someone who is emotionally damaged. We all have triggers, granted. We have to determine if we are dealing with someone who is emotionally damaged or emotionally intelligent.
That's good.
Most definitely. And that's what I'm trying to say. Emotional intelligence will tell you I have to do more than just address. Emotional intelligence will tell you that there is a work that I have to do. There is a job that I have to do. Mm-hmm. Me. It starts with me. No matter how triggered, and I have my triggers. And when I find myself triggered by someone, I have to make it my business. Mm-hmm. that I heal myself. Mm-hmm. I can't wait for nobody to do that. I can't wait for nobody to take the responsibility and catch it. Wait, hold on. Uh-huh. Because if I wait for them, I possibly could drive myself crazy with a responsibility that I'm putting on them that's really mine.
Absolutely.
I have to do the work, and we don't stress that enough. And the society will not tell you to stress it enough because the money to be made is in the sickness. They'll give you bits and pieces, especially in our Black communities. And I always say this because in our Black communities we have bits and pieces of psychology that we deal with, but we never go to school to really learn or read a book to really learn all of the broad spectrum of the psychology of a situation. So here we are, we halfway psychologizing a situation, telling people, hey, you can't do that because that triggers me. Well, then there's another part of that says, okay, if I can't do that because it triggers you, now your responsibility is to heal from the trauma so you'll never be triggered again, whether I do it or not.
Right. Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we agreed on. tell me your trigger. Okay, but just be reminded that you need to be working on your healing.
Absolutely.
And if you're not working on the healing, that means you still want to be, in my eyes, to a certain degree, you still want to be in that part of damage. I don't maybe not, I could be wrong, but if you're not putting the action towards the healing, it's going to be difficult, and maybe you should not be involved, particularly if you're not putting the action towards anything.
Right.
I rock with you if you struggle.
Mm-hmm.
The struggle means you're fighting. I'll struggle with you, but when you just throw in the towel and say, look, it is what it is. Like I always say to myself when people tell me, because we talk about men and our triggers. When a woman says, this is my attitude, you're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm like, but you're emotionally triggering me simply because I had to deal with something like this before. Well, this is what it is. Okay. Well, you want to be is what it is by yourself because this is not working for me.
Right. Right.
Not working for me.
This is my thing too about being triggered. What I'm not going to do is constantly tell you you're triggering me, first of all, because then you pull me into this constant war zone of trying to give you the responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to what you said, Jamel. Is it Jamel or Jamal?
Jamel.
Okay, Jamel. Managing and expressing. So yes, I can express to you. I will give it about once or twice, honestly, that hey, you triggered me, but also understanding that since I'm managing my own triggers, I'm not going to give you the blunt of the responsibility, but I do believe in healthy communication, and it doesn't take away because I'm expressing to someone that this is a trigger for me, that, I'm not managing my triggers. No, that doesn't mean that. It just means that I need to let you know I'm triggered.
Most definitely. I think I spoke on the behalf of, or I spoke from the perspective of, I'm tired of, and I'm always going to use this term because, I really deal with my community.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of Black women always being in a position where they're traumatized. But in order for them to not be in that position, they have to refuse to be victims.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason,
well, I get that, bro. I really do. But in the same token, like I can't put, because I think this kind of dear to my heart. Like, and I know you don't mean anything about it, but I don't. Most of the women who have been traumatized at the hands of a Black man.
There's no question.
And so we as men have to take on our responsibility. Granted, we're not perfect, but we have to do a better job protecting our women. And I mean, mind, body, and soul. We have to do a better job. We have to do a better job.
In order for that to happen, though, we're living in a day and an age where women are saying, I don't need a man.
Well, brother.
Wait, hold up. And in that saying, they say it because it's a mechanism to protect themselves from the trauma that a man brought.
Right.
There's no question.
Absolutely.
There's no question. But you have to recognize that every man didn't do it. Number one. Number two, you have to address your choices in men. And if we're talking about men, I would say men would have to address their choices in women. Because the real problem wasn't the person. The real problem in a lot of instances was your choice.
Absolutely.
So now we have to understand, why did you choose that? Why did you choose to go back to that? Why did you choose that in another body? It's just a different face, but it's the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we about to peel back the onion. There's a whole lot of layers to this right here.
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. And that's what I'm saying about not wanting our women to be victims. Because at the end of the day, there has to come a point where you say, you know what? I can have an experience and not be a victim.
Right.
What makes you a victim is when you keep going back to that same experience over and over and over. Now you're victimizing yourself.
But
or the person
to the other point to that, brother, and I got that. But I think sometimes one of the things that we have to do is that as men, like I definitely appreciate the dialogue with you, is that as men have those conversations with other men. For a lot of times, you know, we talk to women not being the victim, what you got to do not to be the victim, but we have to get back to, I guess, a level of young brother. This is how you treat yourself, and this is how you treat your sisters. This is how you treat women.
Agreed.
You know,
Agreed.
And yeah, we're in the society because that was the whole plan for the most part. The way things were set up for it to be in this type of situation. But now, for those, when we talk about people being woke and being conscious, like it's my due diligence in my field, like whatever your lane is, whatever you do. So I talk to the young brothers. I talk to the brothers my age. I talk to even some of my fraternity brother. Look, bro, we got to do better because we got to make sure our women are good. Because at the end of the day, I was raised by a single mother, right? And I some things that happened to her should not have happened to her that caused trauma, right? So I kind of got this empathy to a certain, I have a lot of empathy to sisters that go through. But now I'm talking to my brothers like, look, how do we do better? Because it's hurting us all around. It's hurting us all around. You know?
Let me speak on the platform of men, using an analogy like the gym, and we can talk about women being victims, but what we have to understand, you don't know a lot of times how victimized she has been, and it takes a level of exercising that, you know, that trauma and that pain away. It's not going to happen overnight for a man to say, you need to stop playing the victim, or you need to stop being the victim, and I'm tired of you being a victim. And yes, that's sweet peaches and cream, but there's a process after being so victimized. Some women don't even get it until probably their late 30s. Because I know I didn't get it. Like, whoa, this is a problem. Whoa, I keep on choosing the same type of men.
Right.
Oh my God, this is stemming from generation after generation after generation. But by the time I get to that place, I've been through so much to where it's going to take 5-6 years probably for me to really unravel that stuff and get rid of all the trauma that I've been through.
Right. Well, I'll say this. And this touches a conversation that I had when my mother was alive. I had a conversation with her because she had a lot of things going on with her because of her childhood. And one of the conversations we had, you know, she had a problem with men, a lot, like men trying to assert authority and such. And one of the conversations I had with her is about, I think this is the first time where I had heard the term masculine toxicity.
Mm.
And I had to explain to her that women in the home are usually the ones who are the teachers, the nurturers, the ones that raise, the ones that basically keep the children in a place of being protected when the husband is not around, of being the one that constantly pours into the children so that they can create healthy behaviors. The problem is male toxicity is usually birthed from a toxic female experience. Because the women are the teachers. The men are the providers. We're learning to be teachers in this new age and in this new era. But for the most part, if the teacher is teaching from a toxic perspective, they pass on that toxicity. Or if they're doing things from a toxic perspective, they pass on that toxicity in different ways that can't even be expressed in the youth of a person because they don't see it, they don't understand it, they don't know it. But as you get older, you go, wow, my mother, she was a great mom. My mom's a great mom, awesome moms. God rest her soul. But in our conversation, I said to my mother, I said, "You're a yeller. All you do is yell." So I had to learn how to tune you out when you would get on my nerves. So as I started dating, when a girl would start yelling, click, I also had to explain to her, "Hey, mom, not only were you a yeller, but you don't give dad enough time to express what he's trying to tell you. You just go from one complaint to the next. And he's over here trying to tell you what his thinking was on the situation, and you just going and you just pouring and you just pouring. You don't even give him a chance to speak. So you know what he does? Click.
Jamel.
But that's
Okay.
not really what toxic masculinity is.
Yeah.
No,
Right,
I didn't say that's what it was. I said that's how it's birthed. That's how it's birthed.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, and you know you my boy. Hello,
Okay.
everybody. This is
Hey,
Gail.
girl.
Come on, Gail.
I come in on the late end, the tail end of this conversation. But I think one of the things is, and I'm trying to get my train of thought because Nikita said a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. I'm glad she pointed out the victim and the term victim and how we use it and how it can be more traumatizing than healing. And knowing that sometimes we have to acknowledge before we can even get to the place of healing. When we start to talk about masculine toxicity, I think masculine toxicity was birthed out of a lot of different things, right? We can't pinpoint it to one thing, right? And so a lot of times I heard a therapist that in my head, she's my mentor, say that a lot of times, like our generation and moving forward, we have the opportunity to express feelings. However, generations before us never had that opportunity because only thing they could do was say, "Man, pick yourself up by your bootstraps," because they was learning how to survive in a society and a world that was against them, if that makes sense. And so your mother and your father, how you saw them communicate and engage with each other was just out of surviving and not thriving because that's all they knew. And we have entered an era where people have started to ask us, well, how you feel about that? And these are ways to express yourself in healthy manners. And so I think masculine toxicity was
I don't
birthed
disagree with
out
none of
of,
that.
okay, I'm saying masculine toxicity was birthed out of us trying to survive and never learning how to live.
No, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. But in that, we were learning toxic ways, even though for you it was survival. And what I'm saying is, most of us are stuck in survival mode.
This
Most
is true.
Black relationships are stuck in survival mode because that's all they know, because that's all they were taught. And until we dig deeper and delve deeper into our healing, we will continue to be in survival mode and burn every relationship out because we were not meant to live in survival mode.
Right, which is true. But
And
I think the other piece of that, though, really quick, is that we have to give space, safe spaces for people to be and explore and change and change. And we have not come into the place where we are giving people space to be and change all at the same time.
I agree with you. There is a balance to it. And if we take the time to learn the balance, then we'll be okay. And the way you learn the balance is how you learn yourself. Learn who you are. Not only learn what triggers you, but learn how to manage and deal with and heal your trauma. Because if you learn how to do it within yourself, at least help in their deal with their own trauma, I should say.
I think that I don't think that anybody here is trying to, let's say, pass the buck on how you are to heal as far as your own personal trauma. I think that it's coming to a place of understanding that everyone has a certain amount of trauma, man or male or female. Everyone has a certain amount of experiences that they have experienced, that they have lived through. And if I trigger you or you trigger me, you should feel free enough. If you do, you should feel free enough to be like, you know what, that it might not be, you might not use the word trigger. You might say that bothered me.
Right.
You know, like Wayne said, you know, he might not be able to deal with it right then and there in that moment, but I could come back and say, you know what, that made me feel some type of way. And it's not passing off the management of your feelings, of your emotion, of your trauma onto someone else. It's helping them to recognize also that you hurt. Right. And sometimes we don't like to recognize that we hurt people. You know what I'm saying? And when you don't want to recognize that you hurt somebody, regardless of what it is, that's a problem within your own self and your own self-realization, and the fact that you don't want to deal with the fact that whatever it was said, it hurt someone. LaVon said something else over here in the comment section when she mentioned understanding who's emotionally damaged or who's emotionally intelligent. And I believe that one of my friends had said something to me today concerning, he's just broken. I said, no, he's not broken. He's hurt. There's a difference. And I think that oftentimes we like to call people broken. We like to call people you're damaged without realizing that at the end of the day, those are very harsh words to ascribe to people, when oftentimes it's not that they're damaged, they're actually hurting. There was some type of pain that they experienced that, and like Nikita said, you know, I could be flying high, real high, feeling real good, feeling everything. And something might have happened on my job that really upset me. So right now in that moment, I'm real upset because this happened. And it could be on your job. You get triggered on your job, something somebody might say to you. I mean, years ago, I had a manager call me a bitch in an email. And he was my manager, mistakenly sent it to me, meant to send it to someone else, but sent it to me, calling me a bitch. Now, me reading that, I laughed, right? Because I knew why he was upset. He was upset because I knew something more than what he knew, right? But at the same time, you still just called me a bitch in an email. That's a trigger. Because now in the workplace, I am on high alert to watch how I say things, right? Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to trigger that type of reaction. I don't want to trigger that type of response anymore. So now let me calm down all of this Black womanness, because really and truly what it was I'm a Black woman, right? Working in a corporate structure, and he was upset. So we get there's some things are not just as black and white as saying, you know, oh, because I experienced this traumatic experience. Something could be the fact that this man just called me a bitch, and now I come home and you're trying to use the same word with me, and I was just triggered by this one, and now here you come. Right. It's a way to say I don't like something, and why can't we express what we don't like? And that to me is a problem when you're trying to tell someone that they cannot express what they don't like.
Grown Black woman.
Yeah.
I should be able to tell you if I don't like something. That'd be like me sitting over here cooking Brussels sprouts and you loathe them. You don't like Brussels sprouts, but I don't want to listen to you telling me what you don't like. Well, how the hell that gonna work?
Well, let me make it clear that I definitely, from what I said, I definitely said that you have, along with expressing, there must be a managing. One without, no matter how much you express, if you do not manage, you will never heal. And that was the point I was saying.
Managing triggers means me not taking it out on you because I feel some type of way. I'm gonna manage it, right? So I might not pop off at my mouth, right? I might not automatically storm out. I might not automatically, rise up, right? Might not, because every now and again, sometimes you will. It's sometimes it's an automatic thing without you even thinking, right? And in those instances, one or the other, whomever is the cause of all of that, should be able to come back and be of sound mind and say, you know what, I shouldn't have reacted that way. I apologize. What happened was what happened was X, Y, and Z, right? That's when you're emotionally mature and you're emotionally intelligent in order to recognize that the way in which you responded was not in favor, nor was it even conducive for the relationship, whichever relationship you have, right? Because at the end of the day, we feel this in every facet of life. When I was younger, let's hypothetically say I felt, it's not even hypothetical, because if my friend, if Callie watching, Callie knows, she hated going to the stores with me when I was like 17 and 18, right? Hated. Because if what I perceived was you trying to treat me like I was less than, I was going from 0 to 100 real quick, straight embarrassing everybody that was with me, because that was the attitude that I had. You ain't never gonna make me feel less than, right? So that was my attitude. Those were my triggers. You trying to make me feel as if I'm not worthy enough to be inside this store. And it didn't matter what store I was in. If they tried it anywhere, they were gonna get it right where they got it. That was me being emotionally immature, right? Not handling situations properly. But now 40-year-old Nakia will look at you and be like, my money spends everywhere. I don't even need to spend it here, and walk out and not purchase nothing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of this stuff comes with maturity and you understanding who you are, you understanding and knowing your value, and you understand. I tell anybody, well, some people don't, some people tend not to listen, but I tell anybody, I feel like my presence is of value and so are my words. So if I bestow my words upon you, you should take that and hold that, because this is valuable. Everything that I give off is valuable. And I feel that, and truth be told, I feel everybody should walk around like that, right? So if we're in a relationship and I'm communicating with you and I'm telling you something ain't gelling right with me, hold that. The same way how I would hold it for you. If I do something to you and you don't like it, I'm going to hold that and be like, you know what? I could check that for next time. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being cognizant of how you make people feel. That's energy. Why can't we be cognizant of our energy?
Right.
I feel like if you step into my presence, I should make you feel joy.
Right.
Why would you want to come around me and all you feel is strife and anger and frustration? Or you ain't gonna want to come around. We should maintain our energies. And I think that triggers ain't nothing but negative energy. That's what it is. And we don't want to maintain that. And we want to sit up here. Like, I mean, I was listening to everything y'all was saying. I couldn't be on camera at that moment. I was listening to everything that everybody was saying. And a lot of the times we just do not fully understand. And that's why I said I wanted men, because I believe women can trigger men, men can trigger women. And we won't have open and honest conversation about how did this make me feel?
Right, right. And we don't want the responsibility. It's so unfortunate, but when we have to go back and forth and push and shove and all of that and tug of war, in what to me, between emotionally intelligent people, why would I have an issue with how I should treat you? Because at the end of the day, to me, that's all it boils down to. Because if I'm dating someone or in any relationship, if you tell me that when I walk past you and bump you, you think of somebody who bumped you in prison, and you be ready to check somebody. I'm just, coming up with a crazy scenario. But whatever your trigger is, I have to be very emotionally immature for me to feel like, well, that's your problem. That's not mine. I mean, now don't get me wrong. We shouldn't have to walk around on eggshells, but I should be at a place in my life to where I can say, I respect and care and love about you enough to say, I'm going to work with you since this is your trigger. Why is there such a push and pull with that? I mean, if you just, I don't get it, but
I think that's a solid point. Go ahead, whoever was talking.
We waiting on you.
Yeah. Come on, Gail. Go through.
I think that's a solid point. I think one of the things that we just need to start to normalize is us being able to feel hurt no matter what the situation is, and no one be offended about you personally being able to feel that hurt. So if the hurt came from, something that happened on the job, like Nakia was talking about, or a personal relationship, that we just need to normalize that and not push it off as, okay, so it happened and now I need to move forward. Because what happens is that emotion stays locked in our bodies,
Right.
and the body remembers the trauma. And if you never be able to express, I felt hurt, I felt anger, I felt upset, you lock it in your body, which makes you more susceptible to continuously feeling traumatized or continuously being triggered by a situation. But when you're able to move that trauma through your body, you're able to get to a place or at least start the process of healing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think there really is. See, my whole message is balance. There has to be a balance in anything and everything that we do. And if like I said before, if you have expressed to me what your triggers are, but you have not managed your trauma, that's all I was saying. If you
Right.
Jamel over here driving.
Right.
You froze up now.
Hold
No.
up. Hold up.
Hello,
Quick,
can y'all
hey,
see me?
shout out to my sister Nicole. She
Yeah, now we can. You was breaking up.
this.
Never mind, we can't. Oh, wait a minute.
Nakia, that's my blood sister, Nicole Williams. That's my big sister.
Hey, Nicole. We couldn't hear you, Jamel.
Okay. Am I good now?
Yeah, you good now.
Yeah.
All right. I think that in any relationship there has to be balance. If you express to me what your triggers are without dealing or without managing your trauma, then you will never heal, and it will always be a trigger to you. I do agree, and I said it when you had walked out. I do agree that there has to be some responsibility on the person who does trigger. Yes, there must be some responsibility, but my message will always be to deal with the core issue. My message will always be, if you learn to deal with your traumas, you won't have to worry about your triggers. And that means so much, because we know it's like having a sickness and you're trying to deal with the symptoms instead of dealing with the cause. Deal with the cause and the symptoms will go away. If you make sure to manage your traumas, no matter how somebody try to trigger you, it can't work, because you've done the work. You've done the inner necessary work to make sure that those areas are shored up. Those areas are now protected from that attack, or from that perspective. And I'll say this, and I'll finish, because I know I can talk a whole lot. I think that, like I said, in this day and time, in this generation, we deal with a lot of women from a male's perspective. We deal with a lot of women who now understand how to weaponize these words and use these words. And in turn, those words can be used to either emasculate, can be used to denigrate, can be used to make sure that they have some type of power or manipulation over. And it's just not women, because men do it too. Men do it too. So I'm really speaking towards keeping the balance from the perspective of knowing that there are people who who weaponize these terms. They weaponize these terms. And in turn, they try to have control of relationships, control of people. Oh, you triggered me. Instead of no, I didn't really trigger you. You just don't want to grow up. You just don't. You feel more comfortable in your pain than you do in your healing.
I can't let you.
I
I
said
can't let
some.
you say.
I said
But
some.
I can't.
Yeah, let me
Some.
say
Okay.
quick before, because you can go off of what I'm about to say as well, Gil.
Okay.
Say for instance, I have a hard time watching movies pertaining to fathers because I lost my father on Christmas 3 years ago. Some will say, and I've heard it so many times in the church, get over it. Pretty much, to sum it up, get over it. And
Let the dead bury the dead.
dead better bury the dead and things
Mhm.
like that. And so even if we're not talking about childhood traumas, we're just talking about trauma
Life.
in general from losing children or anything, and someone tell you, oh, you just want to be sad right now. No, I just watched a movie or saw a commercial or an ad about children dying, and I just lost my 6-year-old 2 years ago, and you think I should be over it and no longer triggered because I should be emotionally intelligent by now.
But that's definitely not what I'm saying. That's why I gave the analogy that I gave.
But I'm not saying that you're saying that in
Okay.
general.
Okay.
Saying is oftentimes that's how a lot of what you're saying comes off.
I mean,
Hold up. One
Yeah.
second. I just need to reset. Hi, Omar.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Hello.
What's good, man?
I need to introduce Omar to the good panel that I done put together at the last minute. I thank y'all. Let's reset because I think sometimes this is becoming a damn trigger. Being honest. And I don't want it to become a trigger, right? Because I believe that this is open and honest conversation, and this conversation needs to be had because of the fact that there is a disconnect between how men and women view emotional triggers. And because there is a disconnect, it's imperative that we have this level of conversation about them so that we can all, I appreciate this dialogue because it's helping me to understand why in certain areas, a man has not necessarily been able to hear my heart when I said that bothered me, right? Because what they're hearing is not what I'm actually communicating.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So now it's like, oh, okay, I can see this now. Whereas before I was just thinking you were just a straight up jerk for not understanding, but it's not that you were a straight up jerk for not understanding. That's not how you're perceiving what is actually being said. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like as if I'm telling you, I need you to deal with this. No, I'm just expressing to you what's actually bothering me. But I want to go back to something that Nicole said, because Nicole said, what if someone already knows what triggers you and then they constantly keep doing the same thing and they don't care? See, that's toxic, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, that's toxic and that's very damaging to the person. Because if someone constantly triggers you and they constantly do the same thing, first of all, you need to understand whether you're dealing with a sociopathic narcissist, right? Because 9 times out of 10, those are the types that do that, right? They will stay doing the same thing. And then somehow, some way, it turns out always to be your fault and not their fault because you're not understanding them. And they're this wonderful, magnificent person in the whole wide world. And they can't possibly upset you because they're just so great and so wonderful. Clearly something is wrong with you in your mind. To deal with those type of people, you run.
I agree.
Because nothing you do or nothing you say will change how they view themselves and how they view you. That's the first thing. The second thing I wanted to say to Jamel and to what Nikita was saying is that we do have to understand this, that healing is never a linear process. And it has peaks and valleys in it. And when we don't understand that, we'll think that a person is supposed to be at a certain point when they just hit a low spot in their healing process. Also remember that healing is a journey and it takes a lifetime, because if it didn't, then we wouldn't all be living on this earth. If I was always in a state where I was perfect and I was completely 100% healed, then what am I here for? So healing is always a process that you will walk through your entire life journey. And so understanding that there are peaks and valleys in this, and sometimes our relationships with one another, whether they are platonic or romantic or paternal, they will always mirror a part of us that needs to be healed.
And let me say this, because LaVon just said something. LaVon, I'm with you with both statements. I'm just saying, she said communication and compensation go hand in hand. I agree, but what she really was trying to say was communication and comprehension go hand in hand. But I agree with both statements, ma'am. Communication, compensation, comprehension, all of that, all goes hand in hand. I am with you, ma'am.
Well, to what Gail said, I do agree that healing is a lifelong journey. I think where I differ with her thought, my pushback is that yes, healing is a lifelong journey, but healing on the very same situation in most cases, if you're taking a whole life, if it's a process, there must mean that there's an end to a process. So yeah, we're always healing from something, but we should not always be healing from the same thing. There has to come a point to where we resolve within ourselves to be more, to do more, to live free, to live happy. And in order to do that, there are certain things you just have to let go. And a lot of the reasons why we don't heal from a lot of things is because we don't let them go.
I'll let it go.
We look for ways to hold on to it and for it to change instead of saying, you know, I have to let this go because that is going to be what it is. And it does not jive with who I am. So I have to let it go.
So can I ask you a question? Because we throw out these terms and it makes me cringe.
We know.
Being a psychology major, it makes me cringe. Explain what let it go means. Because you say that to someone and somebody is like, what do you mean by let it go? And so I think we have to define and what this means. What does let it go mean?
Well, for me, let it go means that you resolve within yourself that you resolve within yourself that the power that I have does not deal with the person on the outside. The power that I have, the leverage that I have in any situation starts with me, which means that if that be the case, I have to allow you to be who you're going to be, but you just cannot be around me anymore. I cannot entertain your presence in my life because at that point, if I know that this is something that you refuse to change or refuse to let go, then I have to let you be you because that is you. My power lies in me being me and saying, you know what? Okay, cool. We've come at an impasse. We can't, and this is something we can no longer navigate together. So at this point, you know, I don't hate you. I still love you, but we can't do the same things. We can't partake in the same relationship. There has to be necessary changes. There has to be necessary things to happen for me to protect my peace.
And that's fine because that works for you.
And that's what I'm saying. Exactly. It's not, and that's why I was saying it's not a blanket statement. This is something that is definitely that deals with from person to person. And that's why even when I was talking about how some women, that's why I said I put the word some in there. Some women weaponize their weaponize that word victim, weaponize that word trigger in order to control. And not just women, because men do it too. They weaponize those words in order for them never to have to really deal with what's going on in them. For them to really.
How many times do a woman have to tell you it's a trigger before you draw the conclusion that they're trying to weaponize or use it or be a victim or never heal or.
Well, for me personally, I was in a relationship some years back where it seemed like everything I did was a trigger. Everything. I don't care what I did, and I resolved. I had the conversation. I said, it seems like the more that I try, you said this triggers you, I don't do that. You said that triggers you, I don't do that. You said this triggers you, I don't do that. Then I had to recognize within myself that if everything is triggering you, then the problem is not me.
And I would have to agree with that because everything definitely should not be a trigger.
Right. Right.
And I'd be like, shit, if I'm triggering all that, then listen, clearly you need a counselor.
Right.
Clearly there need to be some form of therapy going on to figure out what, because that's a life trigger. That means life just triggers you. Everything in life just triggers you. That's like when everything in life just straight up bother you. You know, that actually, and Gail, don't get me, but that to me, that's just a sign you're just miserable.
Yeah, but no, it's also a sign that you're manipulative, because sometimes that's how they use manipulation to get you to do what they want, control your movements, control your thinking, control. That's how they do it.
But what I will say is, I can only speak to the good women that I know I have encountered in life. I don't know a lot of women that do that.
Right.
I could be wrong. Omar, well, you married to Lynette, and I know my Lynette don't do that.
No, but no, I've had exes here and there that just did shit on purpose. Then they knew it was gonna cause a problem and did it just for the hell of it. But yeah, when I get pushed to that, I mean, because I have a real ugly temper. I mean, and I explain my temper to anybody I deal with straight from the beginning. And being that my temper is what it is, I try not to let everything get up under my skin and bother me. But the times that I do tell you, okay, you're about ready to touch that button, and then you just full steam ahead and do it, okay, then you wanted to see it now. And then, like Jamel said, we'll use it later at me. Well, look how you talk to me and this, that, and the other, and you was cussing me out and all that. And I'm like, well, you asked for that. I asked you to leave me alone for a minute, and you kept poking at me. So what was I supposed to do?
So let me ask you, okay, Wayne, what you got to say about that?
I just, again, because like I said, I don't like to argue with women. That's just how I was taught. And
yeah, me.
I also been in a situation where, you know, I don't know, where I was stuck in the place and could not leave, and the yelling and screaming happened. But even with me holding back, not saying anything, when the authorities came, you know, it was all pushed on me. I ended up leaving out with the handcuffs behind my back, and she was just still going about, you know, he ain't this, he did that, you know, just all those different. I'm like, so I it's like you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. And so, but yeah. I try to be non-confrontational on those type of things, because the end result is usually one of us be getting locked up, or something happens, somebody brothers show up, or somebody it could be very volatile at the end. So
all right, hold on. Bleak, you there? I want to see if I can hear him. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Y'all be frozen. Hold on. He frozen. Hold up. Okay, go ahead.
The thing about the weaponization of it, even if we don't talk in terms in relationships, but I have watched students. You know, you can never say if anybody's if they have trauma or if they upset, but I have watched students who will talk about that they have an anxiety or certain things that's happening as far as this remote learning is concerned, right? But in actuality, that trigger word will cause us to modify what we need to do or how to educate them or what's going on with the plan, and we'll switch it up only to find out that that student really said it because they had plans to do something else or go somewhere else, but because they understand some of the catchphrases, they'll use it for their benefit, to be manipulative. So and where did they learn it from? I can't tell you where, but wherever the influence came, that's where they learned it. But they actually took those type of words, they would use it for their benefit, again, just so they can do something that they desire to do, not what they been assigned to do, rather. So, I'm always careful, and the thing about it is it's a thin line, because you really don't know. But if it's constantly something you're being berated with for all the time, after a while, it's like, you know what? I just don't. And you got to make that decision. You gotta make a decision. I just can't be here. I don't have no issue with you, but this is not going to work for me. So I need to go ahead, go my way, and it's okay. And when we talk about, just to reiterate the concept of I think the management part, I believe, like, Nikita, you said something about your father. Like, I cry too off the father, the drama. I do, because my father was garbage. He wasn't around. So anytime that Will Smith thing come on, that scene, I'll be boo-hooing crying.
Right.
But
I think we all do. God
you
knows.
know, and the thing about it is, but it hasn't stopped me in my life to be productive and do what I have to do, but it still hurts.
Right.
So, so I don't know if you call that trauma or just learning how to work through your pain and go through your process. My grandfather passed away 2003. I could sit down sometimes and sit on the bed, again, a tear, something will come down my eyes because of my grandfather, not because of the trauma from dying, but I just miss him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I still have some grieving to do. And I believe, and like you said, I think some people said it wrong. You cannot tell anybody how long it should take for them to grieve.
Right.
But I will tell people, let's try not to let your grieving hinder you for what you need to do in your life. But I miss him. So even now, I cry, a tear come. A memory came down on my Facebook page. I sat there like, wow, 2 tears. Yeah, here we go. I miss my grandfather. He's gone. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's okay. And I tell people, don't try to hurry it, because rushing it is not good neither. So take your time with it, but don't let it stagnate you.
Right. I believe that a lot of times, a lot of us are aware enough to know when someone is using manipulation tactics, victim mentality, just operating out of victim mentality, and when someone is really going through a process of healing, and so for me, I just believe that if we genuinely know that someone is going through the process of healing from traumatic experiences, grief, or whatever it may be, it is most definitely your responsibility. If you say that you care, if you're pursuing someone, if you're dating, or whatever it is your responsibility to be, respectful of that. And just really, like I said, I believe that we know the difference. And what I'm hearing, going back to what Nakia said, because I think I need to work on my listening when it comes to men, because I'm hearing these brothers up. Well, not the brothers, but I'm hearing some stuff all the way wrong too. I'm hearing with my woman ears, because I'm like, hey,
Now I think the fact we all trying to get better, but it all starts again. It's the communication.
Right.
If I don't talk to you, you don't understand my voice. You don't hear it enough.
Right.
So that's where communication comes in, so we can build off that. And I don't think any of us got the actual precise answer, but we actually are reflecting off our own experiences and things that we have already been through. And I don't think there is a right answer, but again, I when I listen to someone, or I listen to someone tell me, they hurt because of this, that, and third, in my mind, basically because of my humanity, number one, okay, I hear it. What can I do to help make it better? But I then have to be honest with myself that if I cannot help make it better, if I, for whatever reason, I still keep pressing that trigger and I'm actually trying not to, then I may have to cut my losses, and it's just a real conversation.
Absolutely.
I have a question. When do we, or how do we decide when it's the best times to be those who push, as in support others through what they're going through? And then when do we decide, or how do we decide, how do we make the change from pushing to pulling? Because sometimes we need to be pulled out because sometimes we get comfortable in that area and like, I'm good here. I can stay here and be all right, but you're really not all right. And sometimes you need someone to pull you to that next level of healing instead of pushing you as in support of where you are. Like how do we know it's that time? Or how,
I think that comes from an internal conversation that you have with yourself. And you will be able to identify when you need more support or when you need to be pulled, right? But that comes from an internal dialogue. And you'll start to wrestle with yourself. I like to give practical information to people about when you recognize these. So it'll be a wrestling. If you're starting to wrestle with yourself with that idea, and whatever way you're wrestling with may be the way that you need to go. But you will know it's internal. That's never an external thing.
So that means that the person that say your peers, your family members, they could never make that judgment call. That always has to be something that comes from that person.
I believe so. Okay. I definitely believe that that's something that, because this is what happens when if a family member, a friend, a loved one makes that decision for you, if that decision doesn't go right, then who do you turn around and blame? You're not going to blame yourself. You're going to turn around and blame that person because, oh, you said I should have did this, or you said I should have made this move. And so that's why it has to come from a place of an internal place instead of exterior place, because the only weight that you can put on that is yourself because you made the decision. It wasn't a pressured thing from someone else. The other thing I'll say is go to therapy, talk it out. These are the conversations, the type of conversations that you can have in therapy. The therapist is not going to give you the answer, but they're going to let you and give you space to have this conversation where you're able to come to the conclusion on your own.
All right, so let's reset real quick. Sorry, because I done added an additional person to this good panel. Bleak, you can hear me? Why his phone always freezing? All right, figure out your phone. Hey, Bleak. So yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
He's real low.
Oh yeah, your phone do sound low a little bit. Say something else, Bleak.
I'm late on the conversation, so I'm just catching up. I just was listening.
Yeah, so we're gonna fill you in. So basically, we're talking about relationships and pretty much triggers within relationships, and basically how us women feel the triggers and how men hear the triggers, and then also how men feel the triggers within their relationships and how we actually hear them. I don't exactly know what we were just talking about because I was trying to get him on. So y'all, somebody fill me in on what was we just talking about, because I have no idea.
I was about to ask the panel and Gail, because from what Gail was saying, you go to therapy in order to the push and the pull. It was the pushing and support and the pulling to help you to the next level of healing. I didn't have therapists when I was a kid, but I had a mother who knew when to push and when to pull. I had a father who knew when to push and when to pull. Now we've entered into a day where we're putting that influence and that ability into the hands of therapists and out of the hands of parents. And I wonder, how do we empower both? Because I think both are needed in order to teach us how to have those healthy relationships.
You know what though, Brother Lewis, but it seems like you came up with a decent family environment, and what we're finding, the reason why now there is a more of a push of getting that outside help is because that's not the case for a number of individuals, young people. Every day, I'm a vice principal too, so every day I'm dealing with students who are going through issues that come from home and they cannot express themselves because the parents are trying to suppress their feelings and telling them to keep it in and don't allow them to really express those emotions. It's just a lot. So where it might have been a different type of dynamic for you, it's just that a large number of our young people don't have that, and those young people become adults and they carry that stuff from being young, and some of those things are still, that they carry from being young. They still haven't been able to express it. So and what Gail said was, talking to a therapist, it when I first did that, it helped me to do two things. One, I realized the therapist didn't have the answer, but coached me through my own thoughts, my own thinking, to find the resolve within myself, but pointing out some things. So being able to have someone to give you that outside, being objective to what's happening in my life. So that it was a blessing. But again, I think I had a great, my mother was dope, I think, and from my experience, love my mother. She was dope, but I didn't have that real balance like you may have had. So I carried stuff, as an adult. And yes, I had enough of my mother to say, yo, do this, do that with your life, do that, and keep on moving. But still, 35, 40 years old, I still see that 5-6-year-old sitting on the front porch waiting for his father to pick him up. You know what I mean? So I had to get that out of me in order to better myself.
And that's what I was saying earlier, Wayne, to everyone, but that's what I was saying earlier is that you can I went from childhood to teenage years to young adult to 35 years old when it finally hit me that, whoa, this is not okay. I need to be healed. I'm going through some trauma. I got some issues. But by that point, it had just been compiled on top of compiled and just called me the damn bag lady, because I had all these issues by 35 years old. And then if I meet someone at 36, I'm 40 now, and I meet someone at 36, 37, 38 years old, they're like, baby, you should be healed. Baby, you should be over that. Well, I just figured it out. And you want me to be healed already. It doesn't work that easy. And let me add on to that real quick, and I'm going to shut up. And, because we can talk a lot about childhood traumas and traumas that we went through 10 years ago. But a lot of times people are just now going through some traumas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are some things that didn't happen to me until I was 38 years old. And I'm not healed from that. And a man can't breathe on me in a certain way without me being like, hold up. So, and if I meet the wrong type of man, he can say, oh, you just using that as an excuse, or, oh, you just trying to be the victim, or, whatever it may be. And it's not that. It's just that I just went through something 2 years ago. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah,
hard to be able to tell people where we should be at by a certain point, because we don't even know when they approach to even deal with it.
I think the other part of that, I'm glad both Wayne and Nikia, both of you guys said that. But when I say go to therapy, Jamel, I was answering you from you talking as an adult, right?
Okay.
I wasn't answering it from a position of a child. The other thing we have to remember, like Wayne said, is that, you know, the therapist does not have the answer. However, they also don't have any stock in which way you make your decision. And so they come from a very objective position and not a subjective position. So if we think about it from children, and I don't want to keep on going back to childhood, but if we go back to children and parents usually are going to coach their children to the way that they want them to go, because they play a very subjective position in their life and not an objective position.
Okay. Got you. I think that's what I was missing, and that's where I was trying to connect the dots, because like I said, like I'll give an example. For me, there was a time in my life when my marriage was ending years ago. I walked in, found a dude in the crib with my wife,
Oh.
and it was my mother. It was my mother saved that man's life, because at the very moment I walked in that house, my phone was blowing up. My mother was calling me, and she wouldn't stop calling me. And then when I finally picked up, it's like, yo, Ma, I'm gonna call you back. I gotta do something. No, don't do nothing. Come home. And I wasn't living at home with my mother at the time. I had already left. I was living in Flatbush. My mom's was in Queens. And my mother kept saying, no, come home, baby. Come home. Come home. It's time for you to come home. And till this day, I know it was purely God. God must have showed her the whole scenario playing out. But she knew to pull on me to get where you got. Get over here. Get over here. Get to safety. Get away from that toxic situation. Get to a place where you can be protected from yourself. Not even from them, from yourself, from your own ideas of what you're going to do. Because I already know what's going through your head. I know my child. And I said, Ma, you don't understand what's going on. You don't know what's going on. Is she over here cheating? And come home.
Let me ask you, Bill.
Yeah. Yes.
I want to that, and I don't want to lose this thought. Sorry to interrupt. Okay, because you were saying that we should be at we need to get to a place of healing. Bottom line, I completely agree with you on that to some degrees. Have you completely healed from that, one? And then two, I don't know how long ago this was, and to your point of we should be able to manage our triggers so well that we become healed. If you were in another situation like that today, would it trigger you?
No.
Okay.
Because the lesson that I learned from it and the way I was able to grow from it is I learned that no matter what anyone does, the greatest responsibility that I have is to myself, and to put myself in the best positions to succeed. I'm not going to succeed in jail.
No, but it would make you feel emotionally any type of way?
Not these days. Not these days. Because these days one of my mantras is, I'm going to let you do what you want to do, so I will know what you'd rather do. If that's what you want to do, then you go ahead and do that. Will I feel a sense of loss?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But I'm not going to be like back then. I was devastated. I mean, I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do nothing. But it was my mother. Come on now, just get in the shower.
And I'm not talking about devastation. I'm just saying a place of feeling triggered. Would you associate that back to that, and that would be a trigger?
No,
okay.
No, because now there's so many different reasons why people do what they do. Back then, I got married young. I was young. We both were young. She was 19. I was 21, 2. So we both were young. We were in a young church. The whole church was young. Whole church was youth. So, we had a pastor who was fairly young himself at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have the proper counseling. We didn't have the right environment because everybody in that church was screwing everybody. So nobody could hold nobody accountable because everybody was doing the same things. So it was a different time in my life. We just didn't have the support system around us to be able to build it and make it do what it needs to do. Also at that time, I didn't know about looking through the history of how marriages went in her family, how no marriage in her family was successful. None.
Mm-hmm.
And till this day, even though we got divorced and everything, she's my friend. She's my friend. Even because she did what she did, she's my friend. Because I understood. We were kids. We were kids embarking on an adult. We were young adults embarking on a real adult relationship without any guidance.
Right.
We didn't have the guidance needed. So therefore, I realized that it really was nobody's fault in this. We didn't have the proper tools. We were not equipped for the journey we were on.
Well, let me tell you something.
Yes.
I'm going to say like this. If that was me and it could have happened 15 years ago, and even though I wouldn't respond the same way, because I've been cheated on with my young lover and all of that stuff, and we wasn't raised, with the how we should be conducting ourselves and all of that. But even till this day, even though I'm completely over that, me and my oldest daughter, father, we are the best of friends. If I'm cheated on now, I'm gonna still be like, I'm so sick of niggas cheating on me.
I just come to a point now where it's people do what they want to do, and I cannot let what you want to do. If what you want to do is be dishonest and not do right by the relationship, then me being angry is not going to change the situation. I need to do something that's going to change this situation. Okay, that's what you did. Hey, Godspeed. We good. We don't ever have to worry about this again. Do what you do, and I'm going to move on to my next situation. Take some time just to make sure that, I'm okay. Take some time. I'm not going to date. I ain't going to do none of that. I'm going to make my money, be on my bread run, and then eventually come back and say, well, let's try it again. Because I'm in a different space in life. I'm really at a different space in life. I've lost so many family members and so many friends over the years that I recognize that time will be my friend if I make it my friend. I don't have time to waste. I don't have time to waste on people not being what I want them to be or being what I need them to be. No, I have to put myself in the best situation to win.
And let me say this, because that is part of the reason why I am very keen to understanding the person, right? Because at the end of the day, I have learned through being triggered how to manage my triggers, right? So just because you triggered me now, what I might do is I might call like Gail and vent out the fact that this just pissed me off, right? But then once I begin to process through it and I begin to manage it, I'm looking at the situation from a totally different lens at this point. I'm not looking at it through the lens of hurt. I'm looking at it through the lens of who is this person? How are they towards me? How would this, okay, if they already are a person that causes malice and strife, then I already know that's your intention. So I need to walk away from you. But if you are a person that does not cause malice, that does not cause strife, that does not cause confusion, that does not cause all these extra things, I have to then look at the trigger and say the trigger is remembering an emotion from the past, but what is happening today is totally different.
Right.
And that's the point where I know I've grown into understanding me. Because that comes from self. That doesn't come from another person. That doesn't come from anybody else but myself. So I think that, which is why I could respect what Jamel just said about if he was faced with a situation of cheating, right? If I'm faced with the situation of cheating, the same emotional outburst I might have had 10 years ago might not be the same emotional outburst that I'm going to have today. Because today I'm going to say I have the choice to walk away.
Right.
I can make the decision to say, is this something that I would want for my life? And if it's something that I don't want for my life, if it's something that I don't want to constantly battle and deal with, then I have the right to walk away from this situation because this ain't serving me nor my purpose. You know what I'm saying? And I think that a lot of the times with us, we fail to understand what is truly serving our purpose, which is why people stay in toxic cycles, because you don't even know what your purpose is. You don't even know what you're here for. You don't fully love yourself, nor do you fully, really, and truly value yourself. So you place yourself in certain situations over and over and over again, and you're leaving, truth be told, you're leaving your emotional well-being in the hands of somebody else when it really belongs in your hands. Like, if I was dating Wayne, Wayne is not responsible for my emotional well-being. I am.
Right. Right.
Nikita, me and you friends, you're not responsible for my emotional well-being. I am.
Right.
So because I say, oh, you upset me. So I'm giving over control of my emotions to you, and I'm allowing you to take ownership over me.
Right.
That's how, like, now that I'm able to process through how I feel, I then take back my power and I take back my emotional well-being. No, you don't make me feel no type of way. Now I might have just got pissed. I got upset. I was angry. I was hurt, right? That doesn't say that what happened didn't hurt me, but now I have the power within my own self to say, but I ain't gonna stay there and I'm not gonna stay stuck there. Who are you to make me feel stuck anywhere? And I think that's where it comes from, with us literally growing from our experiences in life, period. Whatever it is.
That always a trigger. From my experiences, from past things to where I am now in life, and I have to be in a very, very deep connection with you. And that's probably with only a man, that you can get me to a level of, and I'm just being honest, that you can get me to a level of anger or disappointment or anything like that. Because when I say triggered at this place in my life, it's not that, oh, you trigger me, now I'm angry. You trigger me, now I'm going to outlash. It could just, for that moment, I felt something that didn't feel right with my energy. So I was like, oh, I didn't like the way that made me, kind of felt a little off right there. But that don't mean I meditated on how I felt or anything like that, And so I don't think that it's always that aggressive.
I agree. It's not.
To be triggered, Sometimes it could just be, oh, that just didn't sit well for a quick moment.
I agree. And it can be a moment, because it ain't always this deep situation. It ain't always that deep.
Right.
Let's just be real. It ain't always that deep, right? Like, it ain't always this deep traumatic, like, oh my God, you just took my breath away. I can't breathe because you done hurt me. It ain't always that deep. You know what I'm saying? Some stuff is light, and truth be told, and the light stuff we don't even really disclose. You just be like, oh, okay.
Right.
Like me, and I'm gonna be honest, because I'm like a little OCD with some things, right?
Yes, Lord.
First of all,
she know I did that on purpose.
Nobody asked y'all, but I know I'm OCD. So therefore, if I put something down somewhere and that's where I put it, Don't come behind me moving it, because therefore it's going to throw me off. Like if I always put the glasses here and then you go and you change where I put the glasses, I didn't put that there.
Right.
Or if you wash something and you don't wash it to the way how I like it, I'm going to rewash it because that ain't how I like that.
Right.
It don't seem clean to me. I am the same way with clothes. I will rewash clothes. Did you wash that in hot or cold water? How did you wash them sheets? Well, what about this? Because if it's not, in my mind, it's still dirty, right? Here, my good, and that's a trigger for me. And that'll irk my whole good soul. So you just gonna sit up here and wash that stuff that's supposed to be washed in hot water and cold water. And so what we gonna do? So you wash them towels in warm water. Well, did you use the Lysol? Well, what? You ain't do none of that. You just threw it in there. No, now I'm rewashing this.
Like I deal with that so over here with Lynette.
See what I'm saying, Obar? Because y'all don't look, because you don't be listening, okay? You gotta listen. Okay.
I do it exactly the way she would. I mean, sometimes she'll even write it out. Say it or write it out. But either way, I follow instructions to a T, and she still come behind me and do it. So that's when I'm just like, okay, just go ahead and have it. It's your thing. It ain't clean until you do it. So I get it.
That's right. Because I'm gonna come and clean off that countertop once again, because I think you missed a spot right there on that countertop.
That should be a whole conversation right there. Next podcast or whenever, you need to do a podcast on that. How we put men into that place, and then when they not washing the dishes no more and taking out the trash.
Why you ain't washing the dishes?
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Y'all are hilarious.
Now, what I will say is, I ain't even gonna hold you. I will let a man take out all the trash in the world. I will let it sit right there. Get that bag.
Get that bag, baby. Both bags.
All of them.
And she gonna let him put together everything in the house because she can't stand putting nothing together.
Nobody asked you, Gail.
Oh, I was helping you out.
I don't like putting nothing together. I still got this one thing sitting here. I've had it here for a whole month and it ain't put together yet. And every week I look at it and say, I'm gonna put it together. You want to know why I ain't put together? Because ain't no man here to put it together for me. Okay. And it's gonna stay sitting there that I've had. And I probably had it for about 2 months now, but that's neither here nor there. And it's gonna stay sitting there, okay, until I feel like dealing with putting that thing together. I don't care either. There's some things that women ain't supposed to do. And man, you will labor ain't for one man. Ain't nothing in there. One man, you. It starts with man.
I would agree, I guess,
Man,
but it's amazing how we pick and choose.
Man, you all. Did you read the manual? Did it say for me to read, or did it say for a man to read it? Man, you all. Hello.
Wow, I just caught on to that.
That is so.
That's
Oh,
Yo, are you crazy?
Did you read? Did you read it? Man, you all. Well, you got a screwdriver? Do you have a screwdriver?
And see, my biggest the manual.
Wait, the guys laughed because that could have went a whole nother way. That was funny.
Yeah, ain't nobody thinking about that, but you.
I'm laughing because I deal exactly. I deal with this every day.
I was able just to vision you doing it, like for real. That's all.
But then you got to like me that want to do everything on her own, and then
No. I believe in gender roles. I don't care what nobody say. She is not me. Man, you all. Handle it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will cook.
You,
I will clean. You feel me? You understand what I'm saying? I ain't putting nothing together.
Listen, I believe in gender roles too. I think
man be
gender
up
roles
in
is
here.
good.
Let a man be up in here. I already had one where I had to put stuff together. Help. You gonna help me put it together? What?
No.
Help?
No.
Did that not say, man, did you? Why I gotta help? And got mad because I didn't want to help. Well, I'm only going to put it together this far. Well, I guess that's as far as it's going then. Listen.
Well, Kia, can I ask you a question?
No.
Please, can I ask you a question? Will you at least stand by his side and hand him the different screws that he needs?
I don't know them damn screws. This is why they gotta read the manual. Hello. I don't know them screws. Like, come on. And and let me say this. When my dad, all the time, when my dad used to be working on the cars and doing the oil changes and stuff like that, he would make me sit outside with him while he doing the oil change. He was like, you should at least know what they doing. Okay, Daddy, that's fine. I will know what they doing. Give me the wrench. What? Well, what it look like? So then you got the socket wrench, you got the some other wrench, and all these other these things that's going on with these tools. Man, you all
I can't
handle that. Don't expect me to hear. My toolbox is limited. It got limited amount of stuff up in there, and half that stuff I don't know how to use. Therefore, L screw with that L thing. I know how to use that.
Okay.
The Allen wrench.
The Allen wrench. That's what she's talking about. Yeah. That's what she's talking about.
I don't care what
it's called. L wrench.
I knew what she was talking about too. Like,
I don't care what it's
called. I love you guys. I gotta go.
It's the L.
Thank you for having me explain my point of view. And I appreciate all y'all guys for helping me become a better person. So I will see y'all guys on another time. Kia,
you are welcome.
I will talk to you very soon.
All right, Jabel.
Right. Have a good night.
All right, good
night, Jabel.
Good night.
All right.
Man, y'all over here, little L thing. What's it called? L. It's the shape. It's the L.
It's
called an Allen wrench.
It's okay.
Allen wrench.
I know exactly what you're talking about. We all got it. We know exactly what
now every time I see one, I'm just gonna be like the L.
Yep, the L wrench now. I can't unhear that. Right.
See, y'all be trying to play back. Listen, I know shoes, clothes, okay,
pocketbooks,
bags, jewelry. You know what I'm saying? I could pick out some banging cologne. My nose works very well. I could go to the store. Oh yeah, that do smell good. You right? I know my role. What I'm not about to do, please. I can't even figure out how to hook this camera up. I'm like, oh my God, this is just utterly ridiculous. I forget it.
I'm not saying anything.
That's all I'm saying. I don't care either. I know makeup.
Yes. You know everything. Let's just be honest. You know everything feminine.
That's right. What y'all know about exfoliation? What you know about that?
Not a thing.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying?
So I knew how to exfoliate my skin and get those black bumps up. Yeah.
Get them up. Hello. See what I'm saying? That's what
we know about that. We know about that.
Yeah, no, y'all don't always know about it. Okay.
I got two different face brushes for my face. You should be proud of me.
I am. I really am. You know what I'm saying? All the little wax melts. What y'all know about that? Nadia, shut up.
Nah, that hurt.
I'm so not as girly as you. And it's so funny. I seem to be so girly to so many, but I do oil change and everything, baby. Oh, yes, I do.
Look, it got to go to that good dealer.
No, I'll take it to the dealer, but let me tell you something. I know how to do it if push come to shove.
I wouldn't even know how to do it. Y'all need a socket wrench. Which one you need? Which one you need? My dad, he used to tell you, like, because you got to take the cap off of sir. I don't know nothing about these caps. He would have me over there with the flashlight. You see that?
And you ain't seen nothing, kid.
I ain't seen nothing. All I could see was Jeff. That's all I could see was Jeff. Who were you going? Jeff Jensen's Auto. Hello.
Can you at least check the oil? Can you check the oil? Did you?
Yeah, you know what? After my very first car, not my first one, but my second one, the engine froze up, blew on me. So I learned how to check oil.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you move your furniture around in your home? The big stuff. Girl. Nakia. What? Yes or no?
No.
Yeah, you very feminine.
She is what I consider high femme.
Oh, wow.
What? Once it's where it's at, that's where it's gonna stay.
Oh, okay. See that? Okay, I get that. I move some dresses around and everything. If I not now, but I used to about 5 years ago. Honey, you come to my place twice out of a month, and everything you be like, "Did you have some movers?" No, baby, I did it myself. Big stuff, real big stuff.
I ain't even gonna see. And you know what? And see, that is another thing. It pisses me off. That is another thing. I can't move no big furniture. What I'm gonna do? And let me say this. And now, if I have to do it, right? Like in my last apartment, I had to move my desk, right? Because I had my desk in the bedroom and it was irking my whole nerve that it was in there. So I was like, you know what? I got to get this out of here. And it stayed in there for a few months. It just sat there because I was like, how am I get this damn big ass desk out of this bedroom? How am I do this? And I literally had to figure out how to get it out the door and all this other extra stuff. At that point, I was like, I ain't doing this no more.
Right.
There was too much. I almost broke a nail.
But you know what? I think that this kind of topic is, well, not to go deep real quick, but I think it's so important to have, because at my age now, I recognize how much I robbed myself from allowing men to play roles in my life. And then it got me to a point of feeling like, I can't never get a man that want to do things for me. No, baby, you exuded the energy that you didn't need him to do anything for you.
And I want him to feel all men. Go ahead, baby, do that.
Yeah.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
true. Because if we can't do nothing, after a while, we're gonna sit down like, yo, what I'm here for?
What you need us for?
Exactly.
Yeah, what you need us for?
He gonna know he needed. Hello. I got a lot of needs.
Just let me take out the garbage, sand the floor, do something.
Listen, garbage is always here. I need to take out the garbage now, and I'm trying. That thing filling up. I'm like, oh boy.
That's right. You're right. It's Wednesday going to third. Yup, you're right.
Garbage.
Yeah, you need somebody on call that you say, can you come take the trash out? Like, you ain't even got to call them; they just come pick up the trash. Like,
I agree.
I know
it's
Wednesday.
They ain't trying to pick up the trash. They just be like, oh, they just want to bust down your phone all damn day. Talk about nothing.
Nothing of substance.
They don't want to ask you.
You want me to come check out the trash?
You live right around the corner. When you still come check out the trash.
Look, that works. That works.
You live around the corner. He should come check out this darn trash. What in the world? Got me sick. Y'all should have seen Christmas time. All these boxes coming up in here. I was like, oh, who is going to take this stuff out? I guess I got to. Then, you know what I'm saying? You know how to do it. They see you in the building. They don't even want to hold the door. The woman had to hold the door for me. I was so grateful for her. Dude was just like, sir, what is wrong with you? Where was his chivalry?
Chivalry is
dead. Strength.
It's twofold. Some haven't been taught, and then some get beat down when they try to actually do it.
Well, that ain't me. I don't beat him.
He trying to flirt with me. He trying to do it. Nah, my mama told me to do this when I was little. I've been doing it forever.
And you know what I'm not good with? I ain't even gonna hold you. What I'm not good with is because I'm so not used to men opening, like, you know how, like, if a man's taking you out or whatever, and he'll open the car door for you and stuff like that, and he'll open, you know, the car door for you to get in, and then once you sit down, then he'll actually close the door. And then when you get to where you going, he'll actually get out the car first, come around and open the door for you so you get out. I ain't used to that. And I had this man do that. And then one time we got to where we was going and I went to go open the door. He was like, so you just going to do that? I was like, oh, my bad. My bad.
Let me tell you something, Kia.
Don't touch that door. I was like, ooh.
I'm used to that part.
I ain't used to
Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is annoying. That is freaking annoying when you open the door before I open the door. Before I pull you try and sit down before I pull your chair out. I used to have to tell girlfriends that. I used to be like, no, please don't get out the car first. Stop trying to do all this stuff. Yeah, it's annoying. It's annoying to the man.
I didn't know that. I just learned that. I was like, oh my God. People want to open your door. Oh, okay.
In that aspect to where I don't want you being rough with me. I want you to open my door. I want you to treat me like a lady and all those things. But when it comes to my independence, it's like, I don't need you to do nothing for me.
I need it all. I'm sitting. You know what? The next man that try and take me on a date, I'm gonna see if you're gonna open that good door.
But I don't really think we got issues with independent women because I come from that, so I don't have an issue with it. I have an issue with masking the nasty attitudes as I'm an independent woman.
Right.
That's what I have an issue with.
No, I'm not.
That's good. That's good, Wayne.
I'm not.
But I can deal. You see, because my thing is this, right? We're two individuals that we're complete in God, and if we come together, we become one. I get it, but you're a complete individual. I don't need for your individuality to hide underneath my shadow because you are your own person. The reason why I'm with you because you're your own person. The reason why I hope you're with me because of what I represent. So we good. You know what I mean? Be independent. Do all you can. You're not hurting nobody. Cool. You're not killing nobody. Cool. You know, we good. Now do you? You know, I'm gonna applaud you. I'm gonna high five you. I'm gonna be there when you get your degrees, when you sign your contracts, do your entrepreneurial thing. Go. That's what's up. Because it's me being me, you being you, us coming together, and what we do, it enhances both of us. So I'm not mad about that. But but if you just nasty, just because, and you want to blame that on being a strong Black woman, no, that's not. I know what a strong Black woman is. I was raised by one. I got a grandmother. I got aunties. I got cousins. I know what it is. And your ass, it's your attitude. It's your attitude that's really that's the problem. But as far as you doing, like I was sitting here, I'm up here listening to y'all talk, and I'm like, Dad, Gail was busting out points. I was like, what's she, like a psychiatrist or something? Then I heard her say, but because everything was connected. That's why I said, like, I was actually looking at the computer, like, word. But it's you respect that. Do whatever you have been called to do. Whatever before. I always believed that we all were given something before we were born, and we're just allowing to manifest itself now. Do whatever it is you've been called to do, and it's a beautiful thing. I definitely applaud that. Definitely.
I think to Wayne's point, one of the therapists that I follow on social media who is so super dope, her name is Spirit. And to his point, she has always said there is 3 parts to the relationship that you're in. It's the one with yourself, the one that you have with the person that you're in relationship with, but then the relationship by itself has its own separate entity. And a lot of people don't enter into the relationship thinking that way. So they become consumed by the other person. And that is why a lot of women feel like they are losing their independence, because one of the parties become consumed with the other party.
Yeah, like they don't have their own.
Right. And instead of us being, so either you become independent or codependent, and we have to learn how to become interdependent, which is something totally different.
That's good. You're using them terms right. I'll tell you, interdependent.
Wayne is stupid.
That's good. I'm saying yes.
Wayne said you better use all them terms.
Oh man, but it's the truth, man. You know, my thing is I'm not having married, so I can't say what marriage is, but what I'm thinking, what it is if you can do something better than me, baby, go ahead, do it. I got you. I know for a fact. I already know me. I'm gonna be the dude to go work. I'm gonna go hustle. I'm gonna go ahead. We gonna get the money, do what we gotta do. But 9 times out of 10, whoever I marry knows how to organize it better. We get bills paid over here, but I need some help with the organized part. Like, here's the check. All I want is a haircut and let me dress like I'm in this era, and I'm okay with you. Let's look over it. Let's keep all right. That's what we're doing. That's what it is. What about this? Well, okay, we good. Let me go back out here and do. And I don't have no shame in that. Right. I don't have no shame in that. I believe in walking in my lane and reaching all my fullest potential, or whatever it is.
Submission. I think that submission in marriages should be you submit to whatever lane that I'm good in. If I'm good in this lane, submit to me in that lane. In that, even if it's in balance, I don't think that anything is ever going to be 50-50. But submission is if I operate here better than you, submit to me in this area.
I'm gonna learn some things by watching you.
I know that when we use the word submission, it sounds all strong and stuff, but I just believe that submit.
It ain't strong. Ain't nothing wrong with submission. That's what's wrong with people. They don't like that terminology, but there's not. Listen, there's nothing wrong with it.
When you use it in its proper context,
there's nothing wrong with it.
When you use it in its proper context, people always take it out of proper context. And to your point, Wayne,
well, because people tend to take submission as control, and it's not.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Submission now, just you lead in whatever area that you're stronger in.
Exactly. And to your guys' point, my parents have been married 45 years, 46 years.
Wow.
They've been dating since they've been in 8th grade.
Wow.
And like Wayne said, he's not good at organizing bills, and he just needs to set give him his set of money for his haircut and let him dress in a certain area. I have watched my father do that for my entire life.
Yeah, I got that from my grandfather. That was my image. So
that I've watched. Yes, I've watched.
Gail, I think your headphones died, or microphone, something died.
Nikita, are you going to eat some of those grapes? I've been looking at them grapes all evening.
She had some of them. She did have some.
I'm trying to hold this old appetite for those turkey necks and those greens and that chili that I got in the kitchen.
Okay.
Come on here, turkey necks and wallet. What you say?
Yeah, turkey neck, man. Throw them grapes out. Go ahead and get your turkey necks.
Yeah, I start. I don't sit here and get full, and then I got that good old dinner in the kitchen waiting for me.
You better come on here and have it in the kitchen, Nikita. Listen, we've been on here for a minute. Anybody
2 hours and 23 minutes and 58 seconds.
Marcus always talking about them grapes look great. Shut up, Marcus. Marcus is stupid. Closing remarks. Wayne, ain't nobody asked you to recite the time. We know how long we've been on here for.
I see. There it is. All I was doing was trying to help. You pulling the trigger.
That's all right.
Don't say that. You didn't trigger.
Look, Wayne used to it by now. If he ain't used to it by now, Wayne used to it by now. Listen. But all right, closing remarks. Let's get it. Because I got to call. I got to make some phone calls. Lord have mercy. Somebody, what you want to say? Nikita? You know what they say? Marcus always talking about some Poland spring water. Marcus, you know what? Time out for you. All right, closing remarks. Let me Wayne, what in the world?
He reminded me of
a whole gallon.
I mean, you're supposed to drink a gallon a day.
Yeah.
You trying to living healthy?
I got better.
Right.
Middle age.
Wayne in his middle age, it's a rare. All right, so let me say this. One thing, I'm happy that we had this conversation the way we had it, and I'm happy that it started out with me and Nikita, and I'm happy that y'all were in the comments, and then I dragged y'all on up, because I think it's important. One of the things, that's why, it's called the Muzzles Off podcast for a reason, because I don't want anybody to ever feel inhibited by them not being able to speak their piece and being able to speak what's real to them, right? Because the truth of the matter is that as women, we can relate, and as men, they can relate to men. We relate to women. And then as we come together, like how we had our good aha moment and realized today that everybody don't hear things the same way. So how I might express something to a man might not be how he's actually perceiving it, and it might not be how he's actually hearing it. So now we have to bridge the gap of communication, because that's important. Everybody has to be able to communicate with each other and get on a level of understanding with each other so that we can do what? Progress. I believe that a lot of, and I said this earlier today in the post, I believe that a lot of the times, a lot of our relationships are failing because we fail to understand foundation, and we fail to build on top of a right foundation, on top of a sure foundation, and on top of a foundation that don't have a bunch of holes and cracks in it. Why? Because some of us have not become self-aware. And Gail, you can cringe, but I'm going to say it because we've had this conversation and I don't feel like defining it today. So I don't. And I'm going to tell you why I don't. And I don't feel like defining it because, as we've already discussed in previous conversations, a lot of self-love, self-awareness, self-realization, a lot of that stuff comes in stages in your life. You know what I'm saying? I can remember a time of growing up, and my mother would instill self-love in me because she would always sing to me that song, and I never knew the dude was white. I think he white. Brown Eyed Girl, right? She would always sing to me that song, "You're my brown eyed girl," right? And so for me, that always put me in a place of, you know what, I'm special because my mother said I'm her brown eyed girl. And listen, that was back in the time, that was back in the days where kids could actually go to the store and buy their parent alcohol without anybody having any questions, because the people knew who your mother was. So we would go across the street, go buy her good pink champagne. And if y'all tell that I told her, that's all right. I ain't scared of her no more. I'm 40. And that's what we would do. And she would have her good headphones on and everything like that. And that song would come on, and she would always like, "Here, come here." And that's what she would sing to me. And that instilled something on the inside of me, being that little girl. And I think that's probably why I like Beyonce's song with Blue, Brown Skin Girl, because it instills something in a child to be proud and to love themselves no matter what it is, right? And so a lot of that, and then as an adult, your image and all that other extra stuff of yourself begins to change. So you learn how to express self-love and to feel self-love differently, right? And I wanted to have this conversation today because I find that oftentimes, especially with dealing with a lot of different women, because I deal with a lot of different women in a lot of different arenas, a lot of the times we don't know how to express self-love. We don't know how to feel worthy of self. We don't know how to feel any of the self-esteem, all of that stuff, because we have released it from ourselves and given it onto someone else to say, you need to make me feel, you know what I'm saying? You make me feel like a natural woman. Why don't you feel like a natural woman on your own? And it's because we've been conditioned to believe that someone else needs to make me feel some type of way about me. No, I need to have that on the inside of me. And so I find it that if we have conversations with men and women to come to a meeting ground, a common ground of understanding that what you hear might not always be what it is, and what you hear might not be always what it is. And what we have to do is come to a level of understanding what each other is saying and what each other is feeling, so that we will be able to build better relationships, so that marriages will stop failing. Why are the divorce rates so high? You know what I'm saying? Why is adultery so high? Why is cheating so high? Why are people just accepting the fact that you know what, I just want to be single for the rest of my life and just have sex with multiple people, because that's just if I meet you and I like you and we begin to have sex, but I don't want to commit to you. Why do all of these things happen in life? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of it is because of conditioning. Who are you at your core? And that's why I said originally, Matthew was supposed to be on tonight, because I wanted to give men their voice, right? To say, here's for you, right? And let's talk and let's do this, You understand? But I like what we did tonight, which is bring together the men and the women, and let's talk. Let's talk about emotional triggers. Let's talk about relationships and how certain things happen, and begin to understand why we feel that pull and that tug in relationships. It happens, and a lot of times it's happening because we don't know how to freaking communicate very well. We it's like we talk at each other. We don't talk to listen and understand. Not well, what you say because you know what I'm saying? No, we can't do that. We got to learn how to take in what someone else is feeling, and then also be able to understand it, and then be able to communicate that crap back out to them. And I think that I think that is just that to me is one of the biggest issues that I feel that we have just building relationships in general. It's how to communicate and how to understand, which is kind of like what Levon said earlier. You know what I'm saying? Communication and comprehension go hand in hand. And if we lack that, we're going to continue failing in relationships. And then that's why folks we listen, Nikita, when we have our conversation about side chicks and main chicks and all this other extra stuff, this is why they begin to exist. This is why there are side chicks. This is why there are side men. This is why there are main men. This is why, this is why they're here. And they are here because people are failing to communicate. They are failing to understand. And a lot of it has to do with self. And until we begin to deal with self,
yes.
So
people gonna be in this.
So when you talk about again social emotional learning, a lot of times we bring it towards just the young people, the youth for the most part. And a lot of times you said the kids, a lot of stuff that we probably missed when we were younger that we didn't get. But even as competencies, it's this what you talked about. You got self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making all come under the umbrella of social emotional learning. And it is and what we do with it is just try to teach folks basically the basis around it, because some things you're not really aware of until somebody brings it to your forefront.
Right.
Some of the stuff that is happening when we think about it, some of the stuff we're doing is just because it's the norm to do it where we are. It doesn't mean that it's right, but it's just norm. It's a practice. So it's cultural, it's indoctrinated in us, and so that's what we do. And so it's like it's sort of like, well, maybe it's like be kind of far fetched. Like I never knew I was like poor, you know what I mean, or we didn't have a lot because everybody around me was the same way, you know what I mean. And when we were still, you know, what seemed to be a great life. So it's like a lot of the things that we do because everybody's doing it. It's all right. This is the norm. This is the morale that has been as our standard. And what we find as we grow and we see things different places and are exposed to different things. Hold up, this wasn't the right thing to do to jump. So now, how do we break the habits? In order to break the habits, it has to be intentional. And if you're not intentionally trying to break the habits and you just continue to say, well, this is life, then you'll never get to that place of, I want to say, healing. Although it's a process, you never begin the process if you don't start, right? You know, so I for one appreciate the conversation. Yes, I want to know about your triggers. Let me know what it is, because like I said before, I don't want no smoke. I know I'm real cool, calm, collective, and I'm non-confrontational. I don't want no smoke. Tell me what it is that you need for me to do, and let me make a qualified make a decision on whether or not if I can do it. And if I can, I can't. But let me know, because I don't want to pull the trigger. I don't want to mess around with your psyche and stuff that you go through, because the end result can be detrimental. Not necessarily for me, but for you if you act a certain way, because you just never know. You just never know. And the other thing I would say, and mental illness is real. It's just real, and you always want to be aware of somebody's pressure points, if you will. You always want to kind of know. I have a friend of mine who literally admitted to me, like, she said, "Yo, you know I'm crazy, right?" And in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, yeah, I knew he was off, but I didn't want to say it out loud. But she was able to admit, like, well, this is what makes me pissed off. This is what gets me. I get real bipolar, like, real honest. And because she was able to articulate certain things, and I'm cool with her, I always make sure I don't do certain things to get upset. Or I give a disclaimer. Hold up, I'm not trying to get you upset, but I was wondering about this. Like and it doesn't cost me a whole lot to do that. And for me to say, man, whatever, nah, it's not, because if you're my friend and we're connected, whatever way, I want to put you in the best position possible. And if I know this is not the best position, then I'm not going to bring you there, because I'm concerned about you. Because the real talk is that we all have something that we're trying to prove upon. We all got something that we're trying to work with. And if I call you my friend, if I call you my sister, my brother, if I call you my lover, whatever the case may be, my husband, my wife, I don't want to put you out there where you'll find yourself in a position that can really mess your life over. And that's not what we're trying to do. So again, I like this communication, conversation. Let's continue to talk about it.
Definitely. And I think everybody will be quite pleased next week. Like I said, I'm not quite saying exactly what's taking place next week, but everybody will see it when that flyer drops, probably somewhere around Monday. So,
Omar, before we go, I wanted to,
because I'll be having Bible study. Tonight was canceled. So.
Oh, okay. Well, next week starts at 8, so we probably will. We should be on.
I'll come through.
Cool. So I just want to leave us with some practical tools, since we're talking about ways to
Gail, we are Gail, we are shutting down.
Just real quick, like there's
not,
where can we find you? Where's your business card at? Come on now. What's your website?
I don't have one. That's the crazy thing.
Doing all this good stuff out.
Let me just leave you with 2 practical tools, kid. It works in all relationships. I'm telling you, they just 2. It's really simple. 1, when you're having a conversation with somebody that the conversation could go way left, always repeat what they said and ask them, is that what you mean? Always work. And always listen, not to respond, but listen to understand what the person is saying. See, that was so quick.
Hell, I just said, you know what?
Listen, not to respond, but to understand. All right, I'm writing it.
Yeah, because a lot of times our minds work as we want to do a rebuttal. It is listening for our rebuttal, and not to listen to understand and say, well, you said this. Is this what you meant? And just sit in that moment. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
So, Gal, where can we find you, Gal? What's your
well, after I graduate in June, I'll be able to tell you where you can find me.
I'm a life coach right now. What's your website? Let's go. Like, you can do that before graduation. You doing it? Like, just go ahead. Like, let's go.
Y'all better find her on a good book. Goodbye. Let me tell y'all something. We love y'all. Thank everybody for joining tonight on the Good Muzzle is Off podcast. It's time for us to go. We got to go. We appreciate everybody. Omar, I appreciate you. Thank you. Omar was at work. I was like, Omar, come on. He was like, all right, as soon as I get off work. And let me tell you something. I appreciate everybody for coming on at the last minute. Y'all don't know. Plans change, people change, but I love and respect the fact that when I need people, you will call. I can call upon you, even if you were in them comments, and you will jump on. So Nikita, thank you. Wayne, thank you. Omar, thank you. Gail, Lord, no, I threw Gail in at the last minute. Without giving away information, what I am going to ask is that everybody just keep my little sister Brianna in your prayers. That's what I'm going to ask everybody to please do that. Just keep my little sister in your prayers, and we're just believing God for total and complete healing. So I stand on that. I mean that. I know God is a miracle worker, so I know He can do all things but fail. So that's one of the major things. So I want to thank y'all again. Thank everybody. And y'all have a good night. Thank everybody that tuned in, that tuned out, and tuned back in, because I know sometimes we be long-winded, so y'all will tune out and then come back in. I appreciate it. And just tune in next week. We're going to have a good surprise for everybody. And like I said, everything with the Muzzles Up podcast is truly about balance. And it's about bringing awareness, and it really is in order to reclaim our voices. Everybody got a voice, so it's time for everybody to keep using it. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Love y'all. Peace out.
All right.
Oh.